Hi everybody and welcome to our presentation for today. Today I'll be focusing on leaving lockdown behind with an emphasis on culture, employer branding and talent attraction. Firstly, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Sarah Sturgis, Agency Director at SMRS. I've worked at SMRS for 20 years now, and what I tend to do is focus on working with clients to understand their needs and their strategies regarding culture, employer branding and talent acquisition. So let's just start off with a few short words about SMRS so you've got context on what we do as a business. Our focus is to change organisations for the better by helping them to target, motivate and develop the people who really make them tick. So we work on attraction, all different shapes, sizes of attraction campaigns, research, employer branding, culture, creative and content, and we do groundbreaking work that really works. A great starting point I thought for today is how much the world is changing at the moment and the rapid pace at which we're seeing that happen. In January 2020, the UK unemployment rate was 76.5% and there were 817,000 job vacancies in the UK. Then COVID hit and unfortunately many organisations were forced to furlough staff or in the worst case scenario, make a number of staff redundant. What we've also seen happen is that those people in the roles that we once took for granted, that were never really perceived as being roles to aspire to do, are now our heroes. So people in the NHS, those working on the front line in support functions like teachers, drivers, supermarket staff, I think what's been interesting is seeing how these roles have elevated over the past 3 months. What we also know is that workforce requirements are changing at the moment. So lots of people are already working in jobs that are highly likely to change or radically disappear entirely by 2030. And what we've seen is that COVID's accelerating this at the moment as well. My next point is that virtual reality has become a reality. So lockdowns meant that we've all had to adapt to flexible working, and the future's likely to be very different for people where they expect this opportunity in the future. So as lockdown restrictions are lifted in the coming weeks and months, the companies will begin to think about their migration back to the office. But I think things are unlikely to be the same ever again. So what will the future of work look like? And what are we going to need to do to adapt to these changes? So things are going to continue to change over the coming weeks. At SMRS, we've been running a research programme over the last 3 months where we've been listening to what's been said in our industry. We've also been tracking different employer brands to understand what themes are emerging. So what I wanted to do is spend the next part of the presentation on this particular section. So the first area of focus is that employer brands need to shine now more than ever. The decisions that you make as an employer during this period will have a lasting impact on the perceptions of your organisation in the long term. We know that candidates do their research and they listen to their peers. For example, 75% of candidates research a firm's reputation before applying. 69% of candidates wouldn't accept a job somewhere with a bad reputation. And 90% of candidates trust peer-to-peer recommendations. And they don't just want to know the fundamentals such as salary, bonus, holidays and dress down Fridays. They want to really understand the culture of an organisation. They want to know what your CSR policy is. And in the wake of COVID, they're going to want to know how employees were treated during lockdown and what the policy is on flexibility. Also, if there's any tech benefits to support working from home, what health and wellbeing support is like, and what the plans are in place if we were to hit a similar pandemic in the future. If you're not in control of what's been said and making this information readily available, then rest assured your ex-colleagues will be on the likes of Glassdoor, Indeed, LinkedIn, and also the ever-increasing array of social media channels where they'll be having their say. The next icon I just wanted to bring us on to is that employees' values are changing. So what we're seeing is that employees are reverting back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs and valuing things like health, safety, stability, and strong leadership in an organisation. A key thing to consider at this point is how well do your employer brand attributes or your values align to these needs? Can you show them in action through real life examples and stories? A large proportion of people won't want to revert back to working in an office in the future. They'll want and expect to be able to work remotely and flexibly as they have been doing. So each organisation needs to consider what their offer is, and that's going to be incredibly important to candidates. The next point is communication is key. We've heard this a lot in the research that we've been carrying out. Employees want regular, transparent communication. They want it from leaders to understand the stability of an organisation and their jobs within it. And candidates also want to be regularly updated on any changes to the hiring policies and any reasons why they might not be able to join a business right now. I think overall it's about keeping people and your candidates up to date, whether you do that through social media, updating your careers page, or as some organisations have done, looking at frequently asked questions pages, or even encouraging your recruiters to have much more conversations and a regular chat with people. I think the important thing is to make sure that whatever you're saying, it's consistent, it's informative, and it's true to who you are as a business. The last point, as I've already mentioned, is around the fact that there's going to be a new type of employee to recruit in the future. So lots of people were already working in jobs that are likely to radically change or even disappear by 2030. With the acceleration of this and all of those people who've unfortunately been made redundant or furloughed, it's really important that people think about the ability to adapt and multitask, because the wheels have to keep turning, and in this situation, that's what lots of people have had to do. There's also lots of uncertainty in some sectors, and when people will return to work, if they do, what will that stability be like in the short and medium term? So what you need to make sure of right now is that your employer brand is fit for purpose. This is our 6-step approach to developing an employer brand. So now's a really good time to relook at this. So thinking about each of these stages, the talk stage will be about relooking at your employer brand objectives when you first started developing your employer brand. And what are the priorities for you now? Dig is about checking your perception as an employer through internal and external research and benchmarking. How have you been impacted throughout this period? And a lot of people will already have some great information around what their colleagues have been saying, but do you know how you're perceived by your candidates at the moment? Stage 3, develop, is really about checking that all of that research that you've done aligns to your EVP. Is what you're saying you are as an employer and what differentiates you still the same, or does it need to change? Express is about adapting what you're saying and share where you're sharing it. And then finally, tune is all about constantly pulse checking your employer value proposition and your employer brand with candidates and colleagues. So now it's a good time to also make sure that your employer brand still aligns to your business strategy. What we've seen is that a number of organisations have released information from their leaders to talk about how their business strategy has evolved during this last 3 months. I think what I draw out of this is the importance of culture, and ultimately culture is why people join you. It's what fosters that sense of belonging and encourages people to stay with you and grow with you. What I think is really important through this slide is just rethinking and having a look at the areas in green. So if any of these things have changed, so your vision, your mission, your purpose, the story of who you are as a business, your values and behaviours, then it's highly likely that's going to have had an impact on your culture. The EVP attributes come out of your culture, so they might have changed too. So how you need to communicate them across all the areas of attraction, selection, onboarding, L&D, talent management and engagement will be extremely important. What I'd be looking at right now is how the employer brand might have changed and how it needs to be embedded differently across the different areas of the talent lifecycle. This model helps to pinpoint all of the employer brand touch points, and therefore an audit of your messages in all of these areas would be a valuable use of time right now. Content creation has been top of the list for many organisations when it's aligned to telling the story of who you are and your purpose. It can make for a very compelling message. And I think that at this point, people are looking for a purpose-led message more than anything else. They want to know what great things an organisation does, but importantly as well, they want to understand very clearly where an organisation is focused. I think this next video is a really good example of how to tell a story in a very simple way using your own people.
The NAO helps the nation spend wisely.
We look at how government spends money.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's a big job.
That means holding them to account for what they spend and how they spend it.
Yeah, we're auditors, really.
The NAO is the government's watchdog, I guess.
The scrutiny body for public finance.
We check the accounts for government.
We report to Parliament.
We're fully independent, we're not civil servants here, we are Crown agents, which sounds really fancy.
We ensure value for money.
Save costs and minimise waste.
We all pay tax, and we want to know that our tax is going on projects that are worthwhile.
The work of the NAO is incredibly influential.
At the heart of a lot of the issues that are taking place right now.
I don't think there was an MP who didn't draw on our work.
We're hugely influential not only with Parliament but with the media.
I love it when people come and tell me, we've made the front page.
Oh, I see you're in the news again. You wake up in the morning and you turn on the TV and there's your colleague on television.
And our reports are mentioned.
It can really push an issue to the front.
The NAO does really important work.
It really does impact on, whether books get to schools and drugs get to hospitals. It is kind of that crucial.
You're focusing on saving.
And we're talking billions, not tens of thousands here.
We work for everybody in the country.
Every single taxpayer.
Everything we do impacts on you.
Working for the NAO isn't all facts and figures.
We do look at real things that affect the life of real people.
We work all over the place.
Defence, hospitals,
GPs, dentists.
We do work with the BBC, Network Rail,
schools,
roads, buses,
the courts and criminal justice system.
One minute you might be on a farm counting sheep, the next minute you might be in one of the royal palaces.
I can't think of much that it doesn't affect.
We all want to know that that money is spent really wisely.
We just want to get the best value for money from the government for the people.
Accountants are definitely humans.
You feel you are doing something counts.
Yeah, it feels good.
I'm really proud. My dad is very proud.
We're more active, we're more of a voice.
We're able to speak without fear or favour.
I used to work in market research and I sold tomatoes. It doesn't give you the same feeling as I saved the NHS $2 billion today.
As you could see in that video, your people are the ones who help to bring your story to life. So think about building a community of brand ambassadors now. Here are lots of reasons why that's important. So you might be surprised to learn that 79% of employees already post about their company on social channels. 561% is how much further brand messages reach when shared with employees. 8 times more engagement for content that's shared by employees. 90% is how much people trust other people. They trust corporate messages just 33%. 54% of online job seekers read employee reviews. 87% is how much less likely an engaged person is to leave an organisation. So for those who are thinking about recruiting post-lockdown, a key thing to consider is how you can structure what you do to attract both active and passive candidates. This model shows how you can effectively run 2 different attraction strategies to reach both active and passive candidates. It may mean that you need candidate engagement specialists and a CRM system rather than just recruiters, but it will be a way forward when it comes to hiring niche skills or in volume. And finally, I thought I'd share this example of how to tackle challenging recruitment head on with some tongue-in-cheek honesty as well. So if you're authentic and you tackle recruitment challenges in this way, it can really make a difference to your ability to attract. So the challenge I wanted to share with you, and this particular video, was from Locked. They needed to attract high caliber graduates into the prison service for 2 years. Not exactly the top of the list when it comes to roles. It often shocked friends and family members when people told them what they would be doing in their future career. But if we can make this look attractive, then pretty much anything else can be done.
What the?
Fantastic news. Just wonderful. I knew that you would find a job that would make a difference.
Disappointed. I'm worried. Prisons. Well, you could get hurt. People there are so violent.
Very impressive. You were running a wing of 60 people within 3 months. That's
unbelievable. You study for 3 years and then turn your back on the city to work in a promoted already. You only started there last year. I'm pretty much going nowhere.
Where did you say you worked? Prison? That's crazy. You've got to tell me...
Mate, what the actual...
For a career that gets a reaction, join Unlocked Graduates as a prison officer.
I hope that's given you some insight and ideas on where your energy is best focused as we start moving out of lockdown. There's lots to think about, and what I found particularly interesting over the last month is the pace at which organisations are leaving lockdown, planning out their key projects, measuring their employer brands in the external market, adapting them, and getting their attraction tools and content fit for purpose. I suppose my final message really is get ready to leave lockdown and don't get left behind. Thank you all for joining me, and if you'd like to talk further, we are SMRS.